Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for The Affair, Season 1, Episode 3. And this episode was definitely very interesting. Probably, I don't want to say it's the best episode of the season, because I didn't like it as much as the pilot. I thought the pilot was still the best episode so far. However, this episode is definitely gearing up for what I think is going to be an amazing episode next week. I can already tell next week's episode is going to be amazing, and the way things are going definitely is getting very interesting. One of the things I thought was interesting about this episode is this was the episode where the interrogation scene had the least amount of screen time. Noah barely had any monologues or anything with the interrogation in this episode, and Allison had like 3 scenes, so I thought that was really interesting. And I definitely really enjoyed that. So let's just get this episode, because overall, I thought this was a great episode, and I really, really enjoyed it. So we see Noah, we see him at night, swimming in the pool, and basically, I was kind of wondering, like, why is he swimming so much? Because, we saw him swimming in the first episode, and now we see him swimming in the third episode. And basically, he gets out of the pool, and he sees Bruce, who can now resist any opportunity to basically just brag about himself. He's still bragging about himself, and he talks about this guy he basically beat the shit out of, this guy named Arnold in tennis. And it's supposed to be some sort of thing where basically he's trying to show, oh, he's better than him, or he's, knows how to deal with people, like, he's a tough person, and, like, he's so annoying, like, seriously. He's a really good character, but at the same time, I hate his character to death, definitely, and I really hope that if anyone dies, I really want him to die. I really do. I hope he dies. I really just do. So Noah is about as receptive as any writer will be when it's implied they might be goofing off, because he doesn't want to, because, Bruce is just, basically Bruce is, again, trying to get him out of his regular job and telling him, look, I want you to do this full time, and Noah's, like, very furious to this. So he goes straight to his bedroom, takes off his swim trunks, and he climbs into bed with Helen and whispers 3 words to her. And basically those words are, don't wake up, and he has sex with her. So I thought that was definitely interesting that he just said, don't wake up, and then they had sex. That was definitely really interesting what happened there. So at breakfast, Helen is trying to decide between overpriced bowls, between Kenya or Brazil. And basically, she's trying to figure out what to do there. And then we find out that Whitney, by Margaret, has been, Margaret has decided to give Whitney an interview to be an au pair. If you don't know what an au pair is, that is a nanny, basically, or a babysitter, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, that's what she's gonna do, and I think that's a good thing for Whitney, definitely, because Whitney's basically a slut. She needs a creative outlet, just like Martin does. I like that, one of the things I definitely do like is that they are really good parents to their kids, and I definitely really do enjoy that. So basically, she's doing that, and, Helen doesn't think it's really a good idea because of what's going on there and everything, so she doesn't really know if it's a good idea that, Winnie's going to do that, but, she doesn't think Winnie's responsible enough, but, Winnie says, that she's going to try it out. Bruce is stuck on child duty, so that's really funny. Noah has a breakfast meeting, and he goes to meet with Harry, who, of course, is that agent we met in last week's episode that Bruce introduced him to. And we learned that, basically, Noah, wakes up early to write or swim, and basically that's why he swims, so he wakes up early, because, he has 4 kids, and, Harry says he could never deal with 4 kids, and that's basically how he can, stay sane and everything, and he has no idea what his next book is going to be about, which we pretty much figured, In my opinion, though, I kind of feel like he does, because as we know, we saw him type the word Allison, which is basically all he has of his book so far, so I think it definitely is very interesting, and, definitely, I thought that scene was, definitely very interesting, that he said he doesn't have any really, plans or anything, so I thought that was really interesting. So, we learned that, basically, Harry thanks Noah, has an honest face, which may be a subtle nod as to why the print industry is in trouble, and Noah vamps a little bit about how he wants his novel to be set in Montuic, about the death of the American pastoral, and about an affair between a waitress and a city guy who falls in love, but he kills her in the end. So this is really interesting because, of course, Noah is he's not in the affair yet, but he likes Allison, and, Allison's a waitress, and, of course, she's from the country, and Noah's from the city, and, I don't know if Noah's that crazy to kill her in the end. I wouldn't say Noah's really an anti-hero. He's more an anti-hero in Allison's, version of events. Definitely he's an anti-hero there. But Harry's very interested too, and now all he has to do is write it. So I thought that was definitely very interesting the way that went. So he searches for inspiration. He heads to the lobster roll looking for Allison. She's not there, though. Allison's friend that works there, I forget her name, but she's there. Stacy, not Stacy, that's the name of his daughter. Oh my god. What's the name of the girl that works there? I don't remember what her name is, but Oscar kind of comes across a little bit shady, as he knows exactly what Noah's really up to, and he tells her, to come back, she'll be there. And Noah heads to the library. He asks her where the library is. He looks up his own book, and we actually find out the title of his first book in this episode, which I thought was really interesting. The title of his first book is called The Person Who Visits a Place, which is a very interesting title, and definitely very basic, but it's apparently dedicated to Helen. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this next book is going to be dedicated to Allison, definitely. This next book is going to be dedicated to Allison, and I definitely thought that was a very interesting thing there that we found that out, that basically his first book is dedicated to Helen, so I feel his next book is going to be dedicated to Allison. So basically, Allison magically appears she magically appears out of nowhere. I'm not kidding. She just magically appears. I guess that sort of makes sense. And basically, she magically appears. And the question is, how did she know he was there? She offers a tour of the island, she's wearing a very low-cut blue t-shirt and flimsy skirt, because, he's still kind of picturing her as the most beautiful woman of all time. So he says all the right things again. He then again talks about how he's married and he doesn't want to jeopardize his family, all that kind of shit. But Allison suggests that they be friends, and I think that's good. I think they should be friends, definitely. She walks away, and Noah thinks their friendship sounds nice and trots off after her. So she takes him down to the docks where we see that guy Will, who of course is that fisherman, and he offers up some fresh porgy fish, but city boy Noah doesn't even know what that is. So Scotty shows up with an envelope full of cash and an attitude full of questions. So that definitely is very interesting. And, it was interesting to see Scotty again. And the thing is, Noah doesn't really trust Scotty right now because of the whole thing that happened with Whitney, which is not brought up in this episode, which I definitely feel it's going to be. But one of the things I do like about the show is that it is a very slow-paced show. So they're going to bring that up again, but not right now. So, and plus, we don't know how much time has passed since this happened. We don't really know, so I think that's interesting. So Allison's mood quickly darkens after the arrival of Scotty. She deals with it by practically forcing Noah to make out with her, and which he does. Also is nuts because Cole's making ribs for dinner, and basically, Noah protests, and Allison again stomps off saying she gets it. She doesn't, she gets it, but I don't think she really does. So then we get probably the most awkward dinner ever. Very awkward dinner. Margaret is trying to teach basic manners to Trevor, basically about how to eat soup. Like, there are, these dead things in his soup that he wasn't eating. And she's like, oh, don't eat those, put them to the side. Like, they're not all rich like you, Margaret. Like, seriously. And Whitney can't believe what spoiled brats the kids she's charged with are taking care of. And, basically, Margaret, and, she talks about how the father actually made a pass at Whitney. He stared at her ass, and Helen thinks that she's exaggerating. He thinks that this is a good thing for her. Noah's basically saying to her, look, I don't want you to be there anymore. But Helen says maybe this is a good thing for her because Whitney tends to exaggerate a lot, which we know. Here's what I think would happen. I think Whitney tried to seduce that guy because we know that she pretty much tries to seduce everyone. There hasn't been one guy we've seen so far that she hasn't tried to seduce. Well, Noah. She hasn't tried to seduce Noah, obviously, because that's her dad. She doesn't have a good relationship with him. So, she tried to seduce Scotty. She's almost tried to seduce Cole. She's tried to seduce a lot of guys. So I definitely feel that she tried to seduce the father of those children. Definitely. I definitely agree with Helen that she is exaggerating. And Bruce's reaction is just disgusting. It's really messed up and really shows how fucked up of a human being Bruce really is. He says you can't fault a guy for good taste, which honestly is just disgusting. So we then get a little backstory about how Helen's parents were not so psyched about Noah and Helen getting married. And Noah is understandably bristling. Sorry, I thought I heard something. Noah is understandably bristling, even though if he could step outside of himself, how he could see how hilariously wonderful Margaret really is, even if she throws the fact they lend the family a ton of money back in his face. Still, if you want to write a book with a great character in it, this is the woman you should be studying. So I definitely agree with that. I think that definitely is very interesting. So Noah takes off to the town hall meeting, but arrives just in time to see everyone leaving. And Oscar busts him again as he gazes at Allison saying goodbye. Because as we know, one, Oscar has feelings for Allison. Two, he knows that Noah's married. So Noah grabs Allison out so they can talk somewhere alone. And he confesses that he can't stop thinking about Allison. He just can't stop, which I kind of thought was true. We know this. Basically, all he's thought about is Allison, pretty much. So it's keeping him from sleeping, talking to his kids, even having sex with his wife. He can't even have sex with Helen and not think about her, which is definitely very interesting. So she says she thinks about him too, and her suggestion as to what Noah can do to solve this problem is not principle on this whole, basically she doesn't give him she gives him a suggestion and everything, and Noah half-heartedly resists, telling her not to rush him and that he wants to be in charge. And they end up making out and everything. It looks like they had sex, but I don't think they did because we didn't actually see them in bed together or anything. So I don't actually think they had sex, but they definitely did make out. So I thought that was definitely really interesting. And then we cut to Noah washing his hands before joining his family and kids. They're all sitting around the TV watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But he's not seeing the humor in Cameron losing his mind, because he's kind of losing his mind if you think about it. So I think that definitely is very interesting that he's kind of losing his mind at this point. And basically, back in the future / present, this is the only scene we get of Jeffries. Noah's talking to Jeffries. He suggests talking to Allison's boss, Oscar, and he also recommends the detective read his book. And he also wants to get home to his wife for dinner. Now, this really made me think something. I feel that Noah still has not told Helen, and I feel the reason is because he is just too crazy and too, upset with himself, and I think he just thinks he's going insane because of what's going on with him, definitely, and I think that is definitely very interesting, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what ends up happening there. I think that was definitely very interesting. I think Noah's plot was very well done this episode. I really enjoyed it. Really good stuff there, and let's get to Allison. So Allison's listening to the radio. She's wearing a very, she's wearing this dress and everything, and she's singing along to this song by Dolly Parton. I gotta say, Allison has a good voice. I wasn't, expecting her to have a good voice. She actually can sing. I gotta say, the actress that plays her definitely can sing really well. Not like a Broadway voice or anything, but she can sing. She's not one of those people where if she sings, you want her to, shut up or anything. Because, when there are, those really bad karaoke singers you listen to that are not good, Allison's not like them. She's actually pretty good. If I was at a karaoke night and Allison was singing, I'd be fine with that. I wouldn't tell her to shut up. She has a nice voice. I like listening to her sing. So Cole sneaks up on her in a towel. He gives her this look, basically very confused. And, I thought that was kind of funny. She's like, I have a talent and everything. I missed my talent. So I thought that was really funny. And he's basically bitching about the construction of the house across the way. And Cole thinks that she needs a new dress, which basically was definitely very interesting. And he's a little sad she's on her way to a job interview. He's gotten used to because he's basically gotten used to having her around. She's basically going to have now a full-time job, but sweetly tells her that he'll miss her. So I thought that was a very well done scene. And Allison drives around listening to another song, which is this time Mary Chaplin Carpenter's He Thinks He'll Keep Her. And for a moment, she's just a very carefree woman in a pretty dress, driving around with the windows down, hand the summer breeze, singing along with the radio. She's basically just enjoying herself at this point, which I like seeing Allison enjoying herself, even though we know it's not going to last for a very long time. So she goes to the hospital, and apparently Allison used to work at this hospital as a nurse, which kind of makes sense, because if you remember, she was the one that saved Stacy when Stacy choked on that marble. And we see right now that basically it's because she's experienced, and it's because she's a nurse. So she's greeted warmly, and she meets the head nurse or administrator, and she's questioned about whether she'd be okay return to pediatrics. And, she seems to be in it to win it. She's a little hesitant. She agrees she could try to being a floater. But when they're walking around, she cannot look at what she's seeing. A heartbreaking scene in the hallway stops her cold. And it's so sad to watch. This scene was so well done, because it really shows the horrors of being a doctor, definitely. A kid is clearly suffering the effects of chemotherapy. He throws up right in the hands of his mother, and it's so sad to watch. And I think the thing was, Allison has been through so much, especially with her son dying, that she can't have this going on right now. She cannot have, she cannot do this job right now. So you can see this kind of breaks her. She changes course, taking the key card into the medical supplies closet, grabbing a bunch of bandages and antiseptic spray, and hightailing it out there to the beach. So she's obviously very, very affected by this. She then picks up a few shells, finds the sharpest one, cuts the inside of her leg, and I kind of have a question for you guys. Did Allison mean to cut herself? I kind of feel like Allison is cutting herself because she's very hurt. She's very broken because of what happened. And I'm not going to call her emo or anything, but I am going to say that I definitely feel that Allison is cutting herself. I don't know if she's suicidal, but I do think that she is cutting herself, and it's kind of helping her get rid of some of that pain. And, she then puts on a bandage that comes in handy, and her voiceover in the future talks about secrets, basically that, that everyone has a lot of them out here. And I thought that was definitely a very well done scene, because again, she just lost her son a couple years ago, and she's still very affected by it, and it really continues that, and I like that they are continuing that, definitely. They didn't just abandon that. So back at the restaurant, she learns that Noah left her a note asking her to call him, and Oscar lets her off work with a promise that she'll be back, that she'll back him up at the town hall when he unveils his big bowling alley plans. She's very non-committal about the whole thing. Oscar's being extremely gross about this, about this time. Basically talking about how he'd love to have sex with her and love to stare at her naked and everything. Really, really disgusting guy. I've said this before. Oscar's definitely he definitely is a perv. He definitely is a very pervy guy. He definitely is one of the worst bosses you could have. While he is kind of funny, I kind of find some of the things he says funny, it's still very disturbing and very disgusting what he's talking about. So Oscar calls her Bailey, which is the name we know she's going by in the present future, which I don't know if that's maybe her maiden name. I'm thinking the reason that, I don't know what's going on there. We do know that basically her name is Bailey now. I think that definitely is very interesting on why he's calling her Bailey. Is his last name Bailey? I don't know. Who knows? So, on her way out the door, I thought that was really interesting because, her last name's Lockhart, of course. So, on her way out the door, Allison apparently then texts Noah and arranges to meet him at the library. So, this is where some things start to get very different because, of course, in Noah's version, Allison was very dolled up, of course, in that skirt and everything. She was very, she kind of made a pass at him. And this is very different. She's not very flirty. She's actually very skittish. She's wearing jeans and a cardigan, and they talk through Noah's book idea, and then they kiss in the library, which is very insane because it's a small town, and where is everyone? And Allison then shows Noah a picture of her old grandfather, and we learn it was actually her grandfather who raised her, and that he, like Noah, was a storyteller. So we can see why Allison is so drawn to Noah, because her grandfather was a storyteller, Noah's a storyteller. It makes sense, definitely. So she takes Noah out to the docks, but in her memory, there's no Scotty, or Will for that matter, which was interesting. They make out in the shadows, but it's Allison who stops things, and I thought this was definitely very, very well done. She's stopping it, and basically, she points out this is a terrible idea, and this is where she lives after all, and she doesn't think that they should see each other anymore. Noah tries to use the book angle, claiming he needs her for research purposes, and we see how that goes. She tells him that there's a town board meeting if he wants to go, and then we get probably one of the most intense scenes in the show so far, which I thought was very well done. We go to the town board meeting, and at said meeting, after learning about the deer eating rose bushes, and that hilariously Alec Baldwin is again upset about the lack of privacy, things get heated pretty quickly. Oscar presents his plan, Cole stands up, and while he claims he takes no joy in public speaking, he gives quite a speech about the joys of being local. And it's a speech that should have had the whole room on their feet shouting, it's just a whole speech that had the whole room cheering, basically. But more specifically, he uses the fact that he's a man and who was born there, and he has a son who was buried there, which pisses Allison right off. And this episode kind of makes me feel like Cole is not the best husband to her. I mean, he really has a lot of problems. He is referencing their son, which Allison is very upset about because I don't think she wants everyone to know that their son is dead. And he's kind of using this as like a way to, as basically kind of like, I don't want to say promoting it, but he's kind of using their son as campaign, basically. And Allison's obviously very upset about this. And Oscar, too. He and Cole almost get into a fight. And in fact, apparently there's some beef between And this was definitely really interesting. I thought this was a really cool twist because we actually find out why Oscar and Allison, don't really like each other. Because it turns out there's actually been beef between Oscar's family and the Lockharts for ages. So that's really interesting, definitely, because here's the thing with that. Now we kind of know why Oscar's asking her about Cole constantly, because he doesn't really like Cole very much. And I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen there. That kind of makes me feel like the person that died was maybe a fight between Oscar's family and the Lockharts. I kind of feel like there's going to be like a shootout or something. Not really a shootout, but like some sort of fight between them. I just feel like there's a lot of tension there. And I really like this twist. I thought that was a really awesome twist that happened, and I definitely really enjoyed that. So then we go back to the future, and we get a lot of new info here about Allison in the future. First of all, Jeffries wants to know why Oscar was at the wedding. And the question is, why is this important? Was he, is this the party wedding where the murder takes place? Maybe there was a wedding, apparently. Apparently there was a wedding. And we find out also in this episode that Allison's married to somebody else, which is really interesting. She tells him she has to cut it short, basically, and she's not going to take that much longer, and she actually ends up walking out of the interrogation room. So that was very interesting. I'm thinking now we're going to actually see what happens next in the future. Definitely, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. And the other thing I'm looking forward to there is, of course, who is Allison married to? I don't think she's married to Cole, because her last name is Bailey. So who is Bailey? Whose last name is Bailey? Oscar's, I don't think she'd marry Oscar. That'd just be really weird. I don't think so. Plus, he asked who was at the wedding, so it's obviously not Oscar. I honestly don't know who she's married to. It's definitely gonna be interesting to see what happens there. So, Allison then goes home. The very last scene of this episode, Allison goes home. She gets a text from Noah apologizing for not making it to the town hall. And it's very interesting. This is the first time where the narrative dramatically diverges, and basically she attacks her sleeping husband, and they end up having a very graphic sex scene, and basically, she tells him those 3 little words again, don't wake up, and that's basically the end of the episode. So overall, I thought this episode was amazing. Now, this episode did not have, like, a lot of action or anything. And again, Affair's never going to be an action-packed show or anything, but this episode was mainly just build, and I definitely really enjoyed it. And I love the direction they're heading in. I love this episode, thought it was just a fantastic episode, and I have quite a few questions for you guys. First of all, who is Allison married to? I really want to know who she's married to, because I have no idea whose last name is Bailey. We don't know Oscar's last name, but I just don't feel she's married Oscar. Or maybe she did. I kind of have this theory maybe Oscar's family and Cole's family were in like a fight, and basically Allison could survive if Oscar married her. Maybe that was the twist. I honestly don't know what's going on there, but I think it definitely is very interesting. Do you feel maybe there was a fight between Oscar's family and the Lockharts, and that's who died? I definitely feel like whoever died is connected to that. That's just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but I personally feel like whoever died is connected to that murder. It makes sense if you think about it. It really does. It's hard to process, but if you think about it, it really does make a lot of sense what's going on there. As far as Noah goes, do you think that Noah is basically on the verge of insanity? I definitely feel like he is. I definitely feel like Noah is sort of losing it, and he sort of doesn't understand. He's sort of thinking he's going crazy at this point. Definitely, I feel like he's going crazy. It makes sense. Yeah, I definitely feel he's in denial at this point. Also, my other question, of course, is, with Whitney, do you feel that Whitney seduced, that guy, that father? I definitely feel like she seduced that father, and that's what happened there. That's gonna be interesting to see what happens there as well. Noah and Allison are definitely going to start the affair in the next episode. The next episode looks extremely intense, and I personally can't wait for it. I think the next episode is going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm really looking forward to the next episode. And one of the things that looks really cool is that it looks like next episode is actually going to focus more on what happens after they both get out of that interrogation room. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens there. They need to handle that right, though. They can't handle it as, they can't reveal too much to us too quickly, which they're not. They haven't told us anything, really, which I definitely really like, and I'm definitely really into the show. And basically, it's been the 3-episode test, and the show is getting better and better every episode, and I definitely really enjoyed that. So, that's in my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. I will see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of the original. So, I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.